What happened in school that still pisses you off when you think about it today? A girl I went to high school with went to the counselor's office saying that she needed to talk to someone, that her dad was acting strange and she was scared to go home. She was sent away, as her counselor was on lunch. However, her counselor was in plain view of her, and she demanded she be heard. The school got involved and suspended the girl for causing a disturbance. That night, she and her little brother were shot and killed by their father, a day before her parents' divorce was to be finalized. That still haunts me. What the actual fuck is wrong at that school? My English teacher senior year underlining a word I used in a paper and wrote in red, "These are not your words. Bitch, it's called a thesaurus." And I was taught to use it instead of writing the same word repeatedly. Bah ha ha ha. That reminds me when my English teacher sophomore year had us write a paper on prohibition. I wrote a good 5-page paper. The teacher told me it clearly wasn't my work, as it was too well written for a sophomore. I told her if she doesn't believe me, run it through their plagiarism checker. She did, and it came back with 4. Her response? I told you it was plagiarized. 4 match. I looked at her like she was a fucking idiot. Even my college expects at most 20. I got a 0 on a final exam for cheating. The class in question? Art 1. We were drawing hands, and a kid near me talked. Asshole. Teacher thought it was me and gave me a 0 for cheating. How the actual fuck do you cheat at drawing? Well, first you have a super insecure teacher, then you be better at drawing than the teacher thinks someone your age should be. I had to pee. Then I asked to go to the restroom. The substitute full-time teacher for another class said, "You don't have to pee. Just sit down." After a bit more pleading and begging, I just peed my pants. I was 8 and totally mortified. What made it worse is that the teacher told my parents that I should have spoken up earlier, and accidents happen. I still think I should have peed on her desk. Something like this happened when I was in high school. The kid just pulled a garbage can to the corner and pissed in it. We had a pregnant girl in one of our classes and she needed to pee. She told the teacher, and the teacher told her she should have kept her legs closed and she wouldn't need to pee so badly. She stood up, walked over to the door, peed in her pants in front of it, and walked out. He got fired because she had a medical reason for needing to have constant bathroom breaks. I don't understand how some of these teachers can justify saying such terrible things to children. They're actually just assholes. The kind of people who need to bully children to feel good about their miserable lives. I hate when teachers don't let kids go to the bathroom, especially in elementary school. I've told my kids if they have to pee and a teacher won't let them, to just leave class and I'll deal with the fallout. Fuck teachers telling kids they can't go pee. When I was in daycare, before I even started going to school, I had this happen to me. Our daycare center would take us on field trips, and on this particular one, we went to the movies. I know I told this bitch I had to pee, even though I don't remember actually doing it. I remember that. She either just ignored me or straight up just said no. So, I pissed in the movie theater chair. Here's the kicker. She made me sit through the whole movie, bus ride back to the center without cleaning me up or anything. Mum was furious, made the girl cry, get fired, and I've never been back to that place since. This exact same thing happened to me in 3rd grade. I kept telling the bitch I had to go. She said to sit down and be quiet. So I did, and proceeded to piss myself. She was quick to get me out then. Screw you, Mrs. Flynn. We had this multicultural fair at my elementary school, and the faculty wanted a Japanese kid to do origami at the Japanese station. I was the only kid that knew origami. I was, and still am, Filipino. So, they had me pretend to be Japanese and do the paper cranes and frogs and shit. It was just ridiculous. If they did that now, shit would hit the fan. My CSBE teacher did that this year, that she was getting people to hold up their national flags and get the only 2 black, 1 Irish, 1 Tanzanian kids in the class to hold up the flag of Nigeria, which is even worse when you consider a big part of her job was teaching against racism. A couple weeks into my freshman year, I transferred into a more advanced science class. On my first day in the new class, there is a quiz. I asked the teacher if I was exempt from the quiz. Since it was my first day, she said no. I did well, especially for not having been taught any of the material. Here is what bugged me. The final question on the test was what country is ticket from. Of course, I got it wrong. The sentence doesn't even make sense. She wouldn't give me any clarification during the test. So once it was graded, I asked what in the world she meant. Turns out Ticket is her pet bird, Ticket. For one, capitalize the name of your pet. Also, that's not an appropriate test question. I told the teacher I had no idea that was her bird. She said, well, now that you know I'm talking about my bird, it'll give you another chance. What country is my bird from? I was stunned that she thought I was now equipped to answer this question. I wasn't in class to hear her reveal where her bird was from. I guess something like Chile. She says wrong. It's Africa. Africa. That's not a country. I was so mad. She also arrogantly proclaimed every so often for the first few weeks if anyone spotted her making an error. They get an instant A for the year. I can't count how many times I busted her in class, but she never stuck to her word. Last of all, some random girls I didn't even know told the teacher I taught the bird swear words and I got in trouble for that. I never said a word, much less swear words, to her bird. I was fortunate enough to have a teacher who was almost the opposite. If she made a mistake and someone caught it, she would give us candy and just generally say things that made you feel good about knowing the subject. To take it a step further, there were times when she would make mistakes on purpose just to test if we were paying attention. If no one caught it after enough time, she would go back and correct it and even do a little mini lesson on the mistake in case we didn't catch it because we didn't grasp the concept. Miss Graves was one of my favorite teachers in high school. Everything from my stories and other people's stories build up to just be popped by your post. Jesus Christ. I fucking hated teachers like this bitch. In 6th grade, we had to write an essay at the beginning of the school year if we wanted to be on flag duty. There were 3 6th graders who were in charge of going outside and running the flag up the pole every morning and taking it down at the end of the school day. I had just come to the school the year before, and it was a very tight-knit small school. And I was a SCIFI nerd who was decidedly not cool. I knew it then too, and overcompensated by trying way too hard, which is the least cool thing you can do. I wrote an essay about how my father was in Vietnam and the flag reminded him of home, how my grandfathers had gone to Germany and the Pacific in WW2 and what the flag meant, about my ancestors who fought under that flag and a different flag in the Civil War, and how 2 of my great-grandfathers had fought in the Revolution to establish that flag. I wrote about how from 13 stars to 50, through challenges within and without, my family had served their country. Regardless, I wasn't selected. You win some, you lose some. So at the end of the year, we are graduating from 6th grade and moving to junior high. This kid, Andy, who is one of the ones who was on the flag crew and was one of the cool kids, walks up to me just before the presentation and says, "Hey, you're going to get a certificate for being on the flag crew. We were supposed to tell you the 2nd week of school, but we didn't." As a kid who wanted to be a writer, I had spent the whole year thinking my persuasive essay wasn't good enough, but it was just this fucker not wanting me to be there when he and his friend went out and did the flag. In 8th grade, my math teacher told me I hadn't turned in an assignment. A small enough thing, no? Well, I had done said assignment, but decided to do it again so that I could get the grade for it, since he apparently didn't have it. And I turned it into the silly paper tray where we have to turn in our assignments. He refused to take them directly. Days pass, and he pulls me aside again. "Where's the assignment?" he asks me. I turned it in. I say, "I don't have it. You need to turn it in." At this point, I'm pretty irritated. But since he's stubborn and tells me to turn it in again, I do it yet another time and turn it in again. Weeks pass. This literally happens 6 more times. He still doesn't have the assignment and has been getting more and more angry at me every time he brings it up. I tell him that I turned it in, and he should check his papers. He simply tells me I haven't turned it in and to stop lying to him. The entire grade is having a party to celebrate the upcoming graduation from 8th grade. I can't go since I'm missing the one assignment. Instead, I have to do the assignment yet again. I do it, he finally takes it with his own damn hands and not with a paper tray. Credit is given. A few weeks later, he's cleaning out his papers. All of them are haphazardly tossed into milk crates. He says that we can come and grab all of our papers that we've had graded, since they and other things are in there. I go to look in the milk crates, and there, Reddit. I found 9 copies of that assignment, total, ungraded, sitting in random papers that were literally 2 feet behind him at any given time. I got shouted at for weeks over a single assignment that he never bothered to look at and wouldn't look for when I told him I turned it in. When I showed him the 9 copies he had in his own possession, he just looked at me and said, "Okay." TL, doctor, I got yelled at for not turning in an assignment I had turned in 9 times total and missed a class-wide party because of it. And when he found literally every copy and random crap at his desk, he didn't even apologize. This happened to me in grade 5. My teacher was notorious for losing papers, and she had us turn in heaps of them at once. So I turned in all of mine, and the next week she pulls me aside and tells me she doesn't have any of my papers. Says I have to stay in from recess every day until I get them done. So what does little 10-year-old me do? She forgets. I come in after recess, and she's yelling at me, telling me she's going to give me a detention, says I can't audition for the school musical because I'll be too busy making up the papers. Luckily, I had a mother who would not tolerate me being made to cry in front of my classmates for something that wasn't my fault. I went home and told her, and she just calmly asked, "Do you promise you turned everything in?" I said yes, and she called the school. My mother was in PTA and very active in the school's fundraisers and stuff. Basically, she ran everything that wasn't run directly by the school. She said if this issue couldn't be resolved, then she and I could move to a new school. The teacher finally admitted what she did, and to this day, 10 years later, she has to sign slips of paper and hand them back to students for every assignment they hand in. This was in November, but I don't remember her speaking to me for the rest of the school year, which ended in June. This one crazy-ass teacher punished someone and treated him like a delinquent for the whole school year because this kid yawned at him. My Spanish teacher in high school would get upset with anyone that yawned in class. She thought it was extremely disrespectful and rude. Couple of kids got detention over it. She treated yawning as if you were projectile shitting onto her desk. We had one of those too. She would freak the fuck out if anyone yawned. I never understood it. This is one of those weird hot buttons for me. Who on earth ever yawns on purpose? Why would anyone think that they do? Let alone that they'd use one to make some public statement with it. My stepfather was severely physically abusive, and I got called to the guidance counselor's office often to explain the bruises. I would tell her what had happened, she'd call my mother. My mother would arrive, tell everyone I was a liar and that I bruised myself for attention, and the GC always bought it and sent me home. Eventually, I just stopped telling her anything other than I was clumsy, because the beatings were always worse when the school called my parents. Edit? Seriously? Thanks for the supportive words. I had no idea so many of us had shitty parents and shitty guidance counselors. And no, I never beat the shit out of him. Back. Didn't have to. He was in an accident at work that left him a drooling vegetable. Karma's a bitch. My parents are abusive. Calls parents to come in and takes their denial as gospel. Seriously? That counselor had no business anywhere near a school. If a child alleges abuse in the home, the very first phone call by law is supposed to be to the polisex, not the alleged abusers. Fuck, this entire thread is making me so goddamn mad already. But your post had me screaming at my monitor. I feel you. My mum broke up with her ex-boyfriend about 4 years ago. I lived in a house with no working heat, air conditioning, or working water. Also an abusive drunk. He would always get into fights with my mum, and she would scream my name for help. And I would run down to her and she would hold me and scream and cry until he calmed down. I was 11 at the time it ended. It went like this practically every day for 4 years. It's technically illegal for schools to not report this to the authorities if they suspect you might be living in an abusive home. Your school really messed up. We were all taking a class trip to the school library. Librarian said I couldn't drink my water in the library. No problem. I told her. I tightened the lid and put it in my bag, out of sight. Nope. She grabbed my bag, attached to me, ripped it open and grabbed my water bottle and slam dunked it in the trash can. Telling me, I said no, like I was a dog. All 15 of us just stared at her, and I wasted my dollar to have my water trashed. Reading all these stories really jogs my memory. So much shit to put up with. Had a similar experience senior year in high school. Final semester, with my football career over, I decided to audition for the school play and made it in. It was going to be a late night of rehearsal, so I went ahead and got a doctor, pepper out of a vending machine. I was also suffering from partial deafness in one ear thanks to an infection, which is relevant. Anyway, I was walking to the drama room, first room on the left, and apparently the new VP, already known for his power trips, was somewhere to my right trying to tell me I couldn't bring the drink down the hallway, but I couldn't hear him. So naturally, he walked up behind me, grabbed the bottle from my hand, and tossed it in the trash. I casually apologized and explained my temporary partial deafness and that the school was made aware of it. I pull the Dr. Pepper from the garbage. So he starts raving at me, grabs me by the arm and tosses away my Dr. Pepper to the floor this time, and calls the cops on duty over. Tells me I have no reason to still be on campus, and if I don't leave now, and if he ever sees me there after school again, I'll be arrested for trespassing. Thankfully, my parents, the principal, and the drama teachers all come down on him. Principal chewed his ass out in front of me, told him he has zero authority to do any of what he did or threatened to do. And then he even bought me a new Dr. Pepper. After all the shit I dealt with in school, it's kinda nice that this last run-in with authority ended on such a wonderful, Justice Boner-inducing note. I got detention for talking after someone talked to me. I didn't even reply and he didn't get punished. We don't even have similar voices. I had a good teacher in 10th grade who constantly told me to stop talking. I kept protesting that it seriously wasn't me. Eventually, I told her, after class, to move me across the room, and she'd see who it really was. She agreed, and it worked. The very first day after moving, she declared right in class I was wrong. It was never after NATO. I'm so sorry, and proceeded to crack down on the guilty parties. Good teacher. Very validating. Props to not only doing it, but acknowledging her mistake in front of the other students. That's the impressive part. I had a teacher that would kind of jokingly always call out a girl for cheating. Whenever we were taking a test or doing writing assignments or whatever, he would randomly yell out, "Else stop cheating." She was very innocent and had a good sense of humor, so she thought he was joking. But he would keep calling her out, almost like he was giving her a hard time. I was talking to him after class one day, and he let me know that he does that whenever he catches the girl sitting next to her cheating, which she did a lot, and it was a way to get her to realize that he was watching her. And it was also funny to watch Elle react. In my last year of junior school, I arrived to find everyone gossiping about two friends and I being in trouble for some reason. We'd been accused of bullying this kid. We had to apologize to him. We got called to the headmaster who blew his top. And our form teacher told us that she hoped we'd get bullied when we went to secondary school, most of which would fine, but when we went to apologize, I didn't so much as even recognize him, let alone know him or bully him. He turned out to be a good guy, so at least I made a friend for the final 3 months of school. Even to this day, I can't guess how this story originated. I once had to apologize to someone who was bullying me because he'd said that I was bullying him. Fuck, man. Rage-inducing right there. Oh, and another, I was in our head of English's class in Year 9 and I'd constantly get poor grades. Luckily, I left his class for the GCSEs. I suspect he got his pick of the students, thinking back on it, and ended up with the grades in both language and literature. Luckily, I didn't get him for A-levels either. A few months before the final exams, our school had a trip so the best students could visit Oxford or Cambridge, all of whom happened to be both his students and his particular favourites. When the results were announced, some of these students did extremely well, but the majority his favourites were average to appalling. Only 2 of our year got a final A grade in English, me and another guy that this teacher didn't like. So the annual prize for best English student went to someone with a B grade. Both of those sound really stupid, especially the first one. Teachers are meant to stand against bullying, not fucking wish it upon pupils. Perhaps she didn't believe that you didn't do it, but it's disgusting. When I was in Year 11, the gifted and talented students got to go visit Oxford. The minibus they'd rented had 10 seats, and only 8 students were going, so they opened applications for the other 2 seats. At the time, I was really interested in going, sent in my letter of application, tried to be as persuasive as possible. In the end, they sent one kid who deserved it, and another kid who really didn't deserve it. He's an utter cunt and only got picked because his mother, another teacher, organized the trip. Last year of primary school, I was being bullied on a daily basis. One kid stabbed me between the shoulder blades with a compass. Teacher, seeing the blood through the back of my shirt, declared that I'd done it myself to my mother. ETA, wow, you guys have made me realize how common this is. Thank you. I don't recall fighting back at all, as some of you have asked, but I think I'd been so bullied into submission by that point that I felt it was useless. The kid that did it sadly passed away a couple of years ago. In some fate-laden way, I am now a teacher and pride myself on being kinder to my students than my teacher was to me. Some teachers are amazing at overlooking bullied students. One of my best friends was bullied really badly in high school, and none of the teachers thought it was worth their attention until she developed a severe eating disorder through the anxiety those little twats caused her. There's nothing more frustrating than seeking help through the channels the school tells you about and then being ignored completely. How the fuck would you stab yourself between the shoulder blades? I can't even scratch there when it itches. Real. What is with teachers like this who just ignore bullying? I went to the same school as my younger brother. He was just 2 years younger, and this kid would non-stop throw rocks and sticks at him all fucking lunchtime. When he told the teacher, they were just like, okay, stop throwing things please, and that was it. Eventually I snapped and chased the kid around, tripped him, then kicked him when he was down, and he got into trouble for it somehow. Never touched my bro again. Was talking to the guidance counselor about how it was ridiculous to me that a single missed assignment would drop my grade by 20 minus 30 points, regardless of its importance. She said, just because something is wrong doesn't mean you should try to change it. Why the fuck would a guidance counselor give that type of advice to a freshman in high school? I took a computer programming class in high school, and we had network folders to store our work. One kid found my password on a slip of paper, given passwords that we couldn't change, and was stealing my assignments and changing the name. I had been helping him through the class, but didn't think anything of it. Well, in programming, it's very obvious if you steal someone's code, since the odds of you having the same variable names and methods to solve problems would be rare. I got called into a meeting with the teacher and kid, and she just started laying into us. She accused me of cheating, telling me she was going to fail me and report me for academic dishonesty, get me kicked out, and told me that I'd never make it in life and not doing anything. Blah, blah, blah. I was completely blindsided. I had no idea he was stealing my stuff and turning it in. I tried explaining that I had no idea what she was talking about. She kept telling me I was a liar and stupid and wouldn't be successful, and just kept going on, and finally said, never use me as a reference for anything. I'm now a very successful chemist in a very good company, and still bitter that this teacher accused me of being a cheater and that I would never amount to anything because of it, given passwords that we couldn't change. Sounds like the network administrator should have a file lit under his ass. When I was in high school, every student's password was their student ID number, and we couldn't change it. It would be so easy to steal a login if you wanted to do so. I was in the school finals of some general knowledge quiz competition. The question I was asked was, what is the collective noun for a group of whales? I answered confidently, a pod. The illiterate bloody teacher had a school written on her answer card. Refused to listen when I assured her it was indeed a pod. Her ignorance cost me the grand title, and I was practically in tears in front of the whole school at the injustice of it. Everyone then labelled me as a bad loser. We'll never forget it. Still seethe on it from time to time. It happened in 1985. We once had an exercise where we had to fill in the right word from 4 options A, B, C, D in a text. Once, the text we were to fill in from was a fairy tale by H.C. Andersen. In a sentence about a kettle, we had the choice between 2 whatever words and either whistled or sang. Now, I'd read the original version of this story and knew that it was sang. So I put that in. Nope, wrong. It was whistled. Fuck that. I went to the library, got one that still had the old-timey original version of the story, and pointed out that it said sang and not whistled. Teacher refused to change anything about my score, claiming that it was about getting it right on the exercise, not what the original text said. Fuck that so much. Edit, I'm Danish. Just so I don't have to keep clarifying that fact. Sorry, what? The teacher's logic was that it was about getting it right, according to a piece of paper no one had seen until after the test, not about actually getting it right. If only it was in the era of the smartphone. Just whip that out and Google it and make the teacher look like a moron. Edit, my god, so much hate about cell phones but there's an encyclopedia. The point in my joke was that so many people have a cell phone ready for use in their pocket. Lighten up, people. I was in a pub quiz the other week, and the quizmaster got a question wrong. I think it might have been about Pluto being considered a planet. I knew when I answered the question it was going to be a coin toss whether the QM thought Pluto was a planet or not, and guessed that he would be right. But I guessed wrong and grumbled a little bit. Got my phone out just to show my teammates after the quiz finished. Not too audibly, but the quizmaster happened to be sat near me and came up all high and mighty and said that I should be in charge of the quiz if I think I'm so good at it. So annoying. In the second grade, our class was walking in a single file line outside for recess. It had rained and was muddy and slick. The class bully, a heavyset mean girl, was walking ahead of me. She slipped in the mud and fell on her ass. She jumped up and immediately pointed her finger at me. That bitch said I pushed her. I got detention for a few days and had to spend that recess with my head down on a desk in the teacher's office. I swore I didn't do it, and no one believed me. Wow, that was like 1989 or 1990, and yeah, still pisses me off. My teacher lost my finals, then made me retake them while making passive-aggressive comments about me trying to cheat. 2 weeks later, she found my original final on her desk under a pile of papers. Edit. Whoa, thanks so much for the support and love. Didn't realize this resonated with so many other people. Y'all are the best. I teach. I accidentally misplaced a final and was really unsure if it was me or the student. Thankfully, I found it, but it changed how I handle exams. Now I make my students sign out when they turn in the exam, verifying they turned it in. It protects both of us. If I have the signature but not the exam, it's my fault, and we work something out. I've never lost another exam, so it's never been needed. But I'm human, and I know I'm capable of misplacing things. I'd hate to damage a student's grade because I fucked up. In elementary school, I had a teacher who made me throw away $3 just because I was playing with it in my desk. And I was devastated because it was the first money I had ever earned. So I'll remember that heartless bastard forever. TL, doctor, my principal called my mum a bad mum, and my mum killed herself later. They are probably less connected in real life than they are in my head, but I'm still mad. In grade 7, I was accused of writing something mean on the wall, the girls' bathroom stall. They determined it was me by doing an expert handwriting analysis, where they took a piece of my homework from class and compared it to the wall, and the U's looked the same. That's right, the goddamn U's. Arguably one of the least distinctive letters of the alphabet after the L, but that was enough for them to be convinced that I had done it. Somewhat ironically, just that very morning I had gone in to pee during recess in a different bathroom, and someone had etched the word fuck on the stall and then covered it in sparkly nail polish. I thought to myself, why would you even do that? What's the point? Anyways, I denied it vehemently. They brought my mum in, and she defended me, saying, if I said I didn't do it, I must not have done it. The principal went off on my mum. I remember sitting in her office, and my mum was holding me, consoling me. The principal said, I can't believe that you are listening to her when she is clearly lying. My mum stopped holding me at that moment and kind of leaned away, clearly embarrassed by the judgment brought upon her by this principal. This was in June. At the start of August, my mum killed herself. I know that she did it because she had a hard life, and there were many things that contributed to it, but I still feel like one of the things that contributed was that moment in the principal's office. When she listened to this woman tell her that her 8th child was a failure, I can't help but think that my mum believed it, and saw it as a reflection of her entire life. It makes me sick to my stomach just thinking about that moment. And I was only 13, and I wish I could have told my mum, but she was a great mum, and that she would have believed me. I still get really angry when I think about it, but I get absolutely irate when I see that principal. I have often thought about confronting her and telling her how absolutely wrong she was about the entire situation, but I don't. I give her a scowl, and she probably thinks I'm still with that loser kid from elementary school who would never amount to anything. I just think how much better my mum was, and she was, because she had faith. In 6th grade, the German teacher photocopied someone's test and gave it out to class. She did it because she wanted to point out all the hilarious mistake the kid who wrote it made and continued to mock the unnamed student for a good 30 minutes. She thought this shit was somehow acceptable because she censored the name, but her mockery became so vile that the girl who wrote it burst out into tears, and then the teacher got pissed because she shouldn't have cried, then it wouldn't have humiliated her, since nobody knew the test was hers or some shit like that. A guy threw his cheat paper at me in an exam. The invigilator saw it, but instead of throwing him out of the class, he threw me and gave me an F in that exam. After an exam, the math teacher was handing out the results in class. When it was my turn, she loudly proclaimed 92, but cheated from Paul. Paul's the guy who was sitting next to me on exam day. I didn't even lift my head up from my paper, let alone cheat from Paul. I was too stunned to say anything. I just took my paper from the math teacher and returned to my desk, with the whole class staring at me. Not a good memory. That would have pissed me off so much. So I'm the cheater because you looked Paul's paper first? One time during a test, I dropped my only pen and it rolled away from me, so the kid at the neighboring desk picked it up and handed it back to me. Apparently that was cheating and an automatic failure. This is the most ridiculous thing I've heard today. In college, I joined a new program. The first year it was running. The college said there was not enough funding to buy a lot of the equipment and supplies we needed. We even had to buy our own plastic gloves, beakers, and chemicals for the lab. Then the school put up dozens of big screen TVs all over the school. The TVs did nothing but display ads for the college. Oh man, schools and their money. School raises money, then uses money to buy sports gear. Then what do? Lock it away so the kids can't use it. And who the fuck spends 20,000 AUD on a damn sign? Edit, big electric sign. As a third grader, we had silly games, one of which involved pulling each other pants down in front of everyone. Just as someone else did that to me, one of the professors that was known for being a huge cunt spotted me with my pants down and thought I did it by myself. She dragged me to the 5th graders class and made me pull my pants down in front of the entire class to teach me a lesson. I was terrorized, and the bullying that came with it still resides in my unconsciousness. Brew, that's so fucked. I got told off by the next person down from headmaster for not turning up to a maths lesson, because he thought I'd gone to a demonstration against the rise in university tuition fees. He was, however, perfectly okay with the fact that I didn't go to the demonstration and just couldn't be arsed to turn up to the maths lesson. Other people who did go to the demonstration got suspended.